What's up, guys? Nick from ArchCityPLO.com and Arch City Poker. In today's video, we're actually going to talk about how to study poker in 2020. Obviously, with COVID, a lot of you aren't able to play live right now in the States, at least. And I know that I do have international subscribers, but in the States, there are not a lot of great online options as well. So, as far as poker is concerned, we can get better off the table, though, and this is going to be a good time while a lot of you do have some extra time to go ahead and study a little bit, and I want to give you some pointers as far as how to do that. I've got 5 tips, so to speak, and this isn't going to cover everything, of course, but I do think it'll help you guys a lot. If a lot of you were looking for poker facts this week, I decided to skip it. I didn't have enough questions or really comments or feedback from the last video. And not that I won't do that again. I do think that's a great methodology for this channel, but I think this is an important video, and I want to give you guys some help. So first tip as far as how to study poker in 2020. First of all, what type of population do you play within? Now, a lot of you guys that subscribe to my site, not even just my site, sorry, but this channel, you are playing a lot of live low-stakes poker, and you hear about solvers like Pio Solver, Monker Solver. I have used both of those, and they are phenomenal. Your game, you definitely go down these rabbit holes and you figure things out that you never thought were the right plays, or you didn't know that you were supposed to do, X with Y. They're great, and they can help you, but it's tough for those to be really all that applicable to the games that you guys play within, and they are a little bit more expensive. Pio Solver, you can get the basic one, I think, for like a few $100, and I'm not shilling them. I'm not an affiliate or any of that crap. I don't get paid for anything that I talk about on here, but I think that, for some of you, that might be worth it for No Limit. However, you can definitely get by using software like Flopzilla, any kind of free or really cheap like equity calculator where you can run your hand versus what type of range your opponent has in a spot. But I think the lower level of stakes you play within and the weaker the population you play within, then the less amount of like software prowess that you need, like the less amount of computing power that you need for something that complicated. So determine what type of population you play within, and that will help you determine what kind of software you probably need to purchase. And I would suggest getting some kind of software. It just makes your life a lot more efficient. Second concept or tip as far as how to study poker in 2020, less is more. This is a big one that I stress to the students that I work with one-on-one. You want to try to focus on less hands and less amount of spots overall in each particular study session. So what that means is, let's say you played a session and you're struggling with, let's say you 3-bet from the small blind. You 3-bet a player that raised in the cutoff. And you had a couple other hands in the session that were from different spots, and you want to study all of those. Well, it's going to get overly complicated. I think there's going to be a lot of information overload if you try to study all of those hands from that session at once. Take that one hand where you 3-bet pre-flop and focus on just that hand. Understand where you're at in your range against your opponent. And if you are going to take it to the next level with your studies, focus on understanding what you would do with other hands in that one spot. You want to focus on less. Less is more when it comes to studying this game, in my opinion. The third tip is to actually schedule time to sit down and study. A lot of players know that they need to study this game off the table, and they might think, well, I'm going to do it, tomorrow or something. You want to actually schedule that time out, in my opinion, because you'll know that that's the block of time that you're doing that. You have that to look forward to. You have an exact start and end time. And I would say, doing that, it has worked for me very well, but you also don't want to schedule too long of a study session. I think overly lengthy sessions can once again lead to information overload. So I would keep it to even just an hour to start. And honestly, if that's too long for you and you're not quite sure what you're doing, that you can just look at one spot. It might only take you 20 to 30 minutes. A lot of players, I understand you guys Most everybody has a career. They have families. If you are having trouble finding time and you can only schedule maybe 10 minutes, that's fine. Just make sure that you schedule the time. And once you start doing that, it becomes kind of a part of your routine. And that will help you out quite a bit. The fourth tip, this is actually a kind of a crazier methodology that I use. I think it's perceived craziness or perceived insanity, if you will, but I will play the lowest level of stakes online that I can play. I'll play the micro stakes like 5 cent, 10 cent. I'll load up generally 2 tables. I mean, you can do 1 table if you want, but it's really slow and boring usually. But I'll take little Post-it notes and I will put them on my screen to cover up my hole cards, and I will play blind. Now, obviously doing that in the micro stakes, I don't really care about losing the $10 or $20 maybe, but I think it's a really good way for you guys to play only according to what the board texture is, what position you're in, understanding bet sizing and how that there's often tells with that in live low stakes games. Those micro stakes games will play very similar to the live games that you guys play within. So that is something that you can do that I would say, I was about to say I promise you, but I'm not going to promise anything. I think it's very likely that will help a lot of you though. That is a great way for me to just go back to basics, understand what this game is all about when you peel back the layers. That's a really good one. If you have further questions about that, you can let me know in the comment section. The fifth one, which is a methodology that I think it's a little controversial, it's discussing hands with others. I do think that this is a really good method, but you guys got to be careful. You need to filter for the right players. You don't want to just discuss a hand with your local 1-2 reg that you see every day, because they likely don't have a great grasp of really a lot of these spots, to be quite honest with you. And I think it's important that, that is, like I said, a good way to get better is in fact by discussing hands with others, but it depends who the others are. If you have a player that you respect, that is a good player, they've put, a lot of time into that specific variant of poker that you guys are discussing. Let's just use No Limit Hold'em, for example. If you trust them and you have a high level of confidence that they know what they're talking about, then that's the type of person that I would say is a good one to discuss hands with. But you do need to be careful with that. So hopefully these 5 tips or concepts, I know one of them was a different type of methodology or whatever, but I hope they help you out. And like I said, I know there's probably more. You guys can mention them in the comment section if you want, and I'll respond to those. But otherwise, hit the subscribe button, click on the link to archcityplo.com. I'm still loading up videos on there, and there's plenty of great content for very cheap, relatively, to help you guys out. So make sure you do visit my site and check that out. Otherwise, I will see you next week.